Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Because for 54 years they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
In 2016, Donald Trump ran to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, in 2024, he's running to pass a national ban on a woman's right to choose. I'm running to make Roe v. Wade the law of the land again, so women have a federal guarantee to the right to choose. Donald Trump doesn't trust women. I do. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Florida's in play, everybody. Florida's in play. Oh, yeah, baby. Florida, with its 30 electoral votes. 30. Yeah, we were a swing state when it first moved here. Then it swung the other way. And now it's time for it to swing back, is what it is. Physics being what it is and all. First you go back and to the right, then you go back and to the left, back and to the left. And the thing that's going to do it is this issue. And let me tell you something. Here's the painful, ugly truth part of why Florida is in play, okay? The Supreme Court of the United States of America actually said, okay, here's what we're going to do about Roe v. Wade. And it's what they do on everything. It's what they do on everything that's difficult, everything that's, constitutionally protected that they don't want to touch, but they want a result. They want a result that mimics what they think about that issue, what should happen, but they have no legal ability to do that. So, some of you are ahead of me, you know what they do. They send it to the states. That way, the red states will at least have the result that they so desire, that they so dream of, that they so want, even if it means that half of the population of that red state die in parking lots waiting for medical help. They don't care. So while you criticize places over there about letting people die, remember that that's happening right here, right now, by virtue of a desire to see that happen in favor of the Church of Trump. So they sent it back to the states. Okay, so Florida gets it, right? I mean, obviously it goes back to the states. Now, the first state to actually say, oh, no, you don't. We may be red, but we're not dead, okay? We like our lives. We like to have decision-making over our lives. We like choices. We like medical care. We're saying no. We're saying, no, we're not going to have a ban on abortion. That was Kansas, and it was magnificent. It was absolutely the most stunning result. It was such a thumb in the eyeballs of, the Gorsuches and the Kavanaughs and the handmaids, okay, the Amy Coneys. So they went first. Ohio then spoke and said, no. Oh, no. Oh, hell no. Oh, no. We like privacy. Privacy, please. You are not shrinking government so small that it goes right up my uterus. I'm not having it. I'm not doing it. I'm not there. Okay? You want to shrink government? You want to do that? Go over there and do it over there. Not over here, over my dead body, which is basically what was going on, right? Because remember, there was a 10-year-old girl. 10 had to flee the state. I mean, this is just so sad and sick. Okay, so now it's in Florida. Now the whole thing's in Florida. And we have, Ron death sentence, who couldn't give a damn about, listen, he didn't give a damn about the seniors. Let them die. I mean, COVID is, so what? Who cares? They're old anyway. They had lives. It happens. When you get over 75 or 80 years old, it happens. You die anyway. So who cares? I'm not closing up, my billiards halls. I'm not closing up, gymnasiums. I'm not closing things. I'm not going to stop people from attending church. Oh, let the old people die, which is a very strange way to observe God and his, love of life itself, But anyway, that's what happened there, right? And he still has a complete vax denier as our health guy, Mr. Ladapo. That's his name, Dr. Ladapo. Dr. Ladapo, who says, vaccines will kill you. They'll hurt you. They'll harm you. Don't get one. Don't get one. And they're making, Florida great again for measles. They're going to make polio great again here. That's how backwards this place is. So yesterday, we got 2 court rulings, okay? But one was based on Ron death sentence's attempt to, and he actually was successful yesterday, in turning back the hands of time, and not in the share way, not in the fun way, not in the auto-tune way, not in the danceable way, but in the, Puritan way, in the for unlawful carnal knowledge way, in the Hester Prynne way, in the Scarlet Letter way. And now, today, we have a 15-week abortion ban firmly in place, ruled by the Florida State Supreme Court as being something that you could do constitutionally here in the state of Florida. And guess what? In 30 days, on May 1st, in Florida, there will be a 6-week, which is almost a total abortion ban. Now, for a really long time, this was the place to be. This was the place to go for girls living in Alabama, for girls living in Georgia, to come here. You better come here now. So for the next May, June, July, August, September, October, November, November, okay, there is going to be a lot of dying. There's going to be a lot of, women getting septic in parking lots all over this state, waiting for them to be at death's door so that they could get medical help, even if their ultrasound came back and the sad, horrific news is your baby has no head. Still, you're going to have to carry to term. Unless you get septic and are at death's door, and then maybe you could get medical people to intervene. But I don't know. It's Florida. You just don't know. So here's how Florida's in play. May 1st, 6-week ban goes into effect. November, the Supreme Court said, well, we don't like it either. Or, depends on how you look at it. You might not like this, so you know what? We are going to do what the Supreme Court desired. And that was leave it to the voters of the state. Now, a lot of the red states left it to their legislatures. Okay, said, well, it's a representative republic and you elected us, so we get to choose for you whether or not you have medical care available to you at any point in your pregnancy, even if the ultrasound comes back that your baby is like, the organs that are supposed to be in the chest cavity aren't there. Or the organs that are supposed to be in the abdominal cavity are in the chest cavity. And that happens too, and you just don't want to hear about it because why should you? You never had to before, but now you do. Now you do. So in November, on the ballot in Florida will be the question of whether or not you want to make abortion a constitutional right up to viability, which would be 24 weeks, okay? But here's the little thing. Here's the kicker. It's always something with them. It always is. Because it's a constitutional amendment, guess how much? Guess what the percentage has to be. Guess, everybody. Just guess, 60. 60% of us have to show up, and 60% of us have to affirmatively vote to make that a protected right in the Florida state constitution. 60%. Now, I haven't seen Florida agree on anything in 60% of the time. Nothing. Not even whether oranges are delicious and it's the freaking Sunshine State. I can't. I don't know. But it's going to be on the ballot, and so therefore, people must show up in unbelievable numbers to protect their right to medical help, to protect their right to choose. You're going to have moms with 4 kids already who get the bad news. And now they're going to be told in the state of Florida, you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea. So you have 4 kids. So what? You've done it before. You've done it 4 times. You don't know. Ron DeSantis knows. Dr. Ladapo knows. The state legislature knows better than you and your OBGYN. Like, what experience does he or she have in this area, in that region? See what I mean? So we're in play now.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Yes.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Two major decisions. The Florida State Supreme Court has now cleared the way for one of the strictest abortion bans in the nation to go into effect. It bans abortion at just 6 weeks into pregnancy.
God.
That's before most women even know that they are pregnant. And take a look at the impact of this. That means that virtually every single state in the South has now imposed restrictions. But at the same time, that same state Supreme Court also allowing this issue to be on the ballot in November, allowing Florida voters to decide whether they want to protect access to abortion up until viability, which is considered to be around 24 weeks into pregnancy. We know that could have major political implications as well. In every single state where abortion rights has appeared on the ballot, the side of abortion rights has won, including in conservative states like Kentucky, Ohio, and Kansas. And that now raises major questions about whether that could help President Biden and Democrats in November.
Well, there's Donald Trump saying that, he did it. It's the Church of Trump now. Everybody, it's, the way it's Trump's, Trump is, I don't know. I saw a cartoon. I saw a really great one. Stephanie B, I'll just say, because I don't want to put her whole name on the air. She is responsible for curating all those cartoons for us every single month.
Stephanie, you're the best.
She is. She's unbelievable. She's the most amazing woman. And personally, we email each other a lot, because we both have a thing for who was the best dressed, who was the worst dressed. Yes, I know. I know you don't think that I am that shallow, but I am. I know. I am. Because I can't wear those clothes. So I look to others to do it for me. And I get a thrill from seeing dresses made out of safety pins on Miley Cyrus. Holy crap. So beautiful. Okay. So Stephanie sent a whole bunch of new cartoons for this month that we play during the breaks here while we're breaking away from Free Speech TV. And we play them on other outlets where we appear. Okay, just saying. But I have to tell you that bring up what? No, I don't think it was hers. That's what I was going to say, because I didn't want to denigrate like her unbelievable work. She does the best, most incredible job of finding and curating cartoons. But I think I saw this one. I mean, it could be part of her collection because I didn't look at every single one this time. But I saw one in the newspaper. Okay. And it was The Creation, the one that's on top of the Sistine Chapel. Have you ever been there? Have you ever seen it? Have you ever gone into the Vatican? It's like pretty amazing. I mean, you have Raphael who used more bright colors, and I like a Raphael, got to say. But you also have the Michelangelo, who apparently saw men with a tiny little penis. I mean, just like, I don't know. Was it radioactive in those days? Did something happen? Did it get scared when it saw like the awesome talent of Michelangelo and say, you know what I'm talking about, right? The David.
Actually, people looked into that, and it was indicative of a higher IQ back then. If the smaller it was, the smarter you were.
Not the woman. But anyway, so there was a picture of The Creation. The Creation is where, you have the God figure, the God, depiction that Michelangelo created with the flowing beard and the white robe. And he's got his finger out like this, okay? And he's touching the Adam figure, okay? And that's supposed to be the creation of man, right? That's the creation. Well, in this particular version of it, they had Donald Trump touching God, and Donald Trump says, and you would be, because that's Trump's church. He doesn't, it's him. He is he's the new, well, listen, a lot of people think Jesus was a white man. Okay. I don't want to mess up your magical fantasies. I don't want to mess up your magical stories. That's not what I'm here for, okay? But if you believe that God was a white man, then Trump is the other white Jesus. Because there's no way a man speaking Aramaic, honestly, that he looked anything like Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? So he's running around saying that, he knows best. And if you want to toil in Trump's world now, you have to be a white Christian nationalist, and only a white Christian nationalist. And Donald Trump says for 50 years, you know, you wanted Roe v. Wade overturned, and he made that happen for you, and now you owe him, because that's how he sees God. God is a very transactional figure in Trump world. In Trump world, Trump is God, and he can smite you. And he will smite you unless you literally bow down before him, take a knee, bow your head, and pray to him, for him. And listen, he's doing this now. And I know a lot of people don't even watch because, you know, he hardly has any rallies anymore. I don't think people would show up in the numbers that he expects them to or wants them to or needs them to. And yes, you could be very clever with the cameras. He knows that. He's been doing it the whole time saying, you know, turn the cameras around, show the big crowd. Well, you know, there isn't a big crowd. There isn't. He's literally standing in gymnasiums now. Okay, you know that, right? And so he has been in court running because that's what Jesus would do. You know, like, what would Jesus do? Of course, Jesus would run for the presidency of the United States from a courtroom where he's answering for fraud. That's what Jesus would do, where he's answering for sexual assault, sexual abuse, where he's, trying to post a bond so he can appeal a jury verdict that says, yeah, you sexually assaulted this woman, and then you told her she was crazy. You insulted her. You lied about her. You said you never met her. Clearly you had. And now you owe her $5 million. Well, of course, another quality you would want to see in your president, besides for all of what just happened here, is no impulse control. I mean, that would be like right up on the list of things you would like to see in a president who is going to be in charge of whether or not this country ever goes to war, how it goes to war. Will it use conventional weapons in a war? Will it use F-35s? Will it use, nuclear weapons? And according to the Republican Party, which is really the laugh's going to be on you in the end. You know, it's a lot of progressives are very, 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 very upset about the carnage in Gaza, that it's random. It seems willy-nilly. People are dying there that are aid workers. You know, the Jose Andres, his World Kitchen aid workers, they're in Gaza, and they were serving, I think they served like 72 million meals in Gaza, and all of a sudden, there's indiscriminate. I thought we were having a ceasefire. Turns out, joke's on me. They've been fighting the whole time in the Al-Shifa Hospital and around Al-Shifa Hospital, and holy crap, who knew? I knew. But the Jose Andres, 7 of the World Kitchen workers got killed. There was a hole in one of their SUVs, and it looked like, a bomb landed on it. Well, if you think that Biden isn't your guy because, Netanyahu is a right-wing lunatic maniac, wait till you hear, what Trump has in mind. You already heard Jared say what a waste of Mediterranean beach property on the Gazans that place is. We don't want to see Palestinians, have that land anymore. We want it, right?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
And we welcome you now to the Church of Trump.
I'm here in South Carolina for a Donald Trump rally where thousands of people have been lining up for hours to get inside, showing the endless devotion that these supporters have for the former president. One of the more striking ways we see this impassioned loyalty from Trump fans is at the end of his rallies, where there's a sudden shift in tone, where it goes from very high energy into almost a solemn church-like atmosphere, where Trump gives a 10 to 15 minute sermon, preaching to his crowd, his faithful flock of supporters.
Oh, God.
3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again.
Initially, his supporters greeted this moment by holding up an index finger into the air, signaling QAnon, the movement of conspiracy theorists, even though the Trump campaign has distanced itself from that movement. In its place, what we see are people almost in prayer.
Oh, God.
The net effect here is Trump has turned the Republican Party into something resembling the Church of Trump.
The other Jesus.
There are a couple of reasons why Trump is doing this. One is to deflect and distract from the 90-some charges he's facing. You know, he's portraying himself as a persecuted political martyr here, as someone who is being targeted because of his supporters' beliefs and not because of anything he's done wrong.
And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in the way, and I always will.
And another is a more nuts and bolts campaign effect. The Trump campaign can spend less money turning out these voters. These devotees will come out en masse to vote for him. While on the other hand, Democrats will try to use this against him. Will try to use these images to make this seem cult-like.
Yeah, no, to make it seem cult-like. Did you see that Labradoodle? That it had a Trump bird's nest on its head. That poor dog. That is puppy abuse. Somebody call the ASPCA right freaking now and report those people. No, but it is, you know, listen, I've been telling you for a really long time now, the last 10 to 15 minutes of any Trump thing now is it has this QAnon theme song playing, and then Donald Trump becomes sort of the pastor in chief and leads them through a bunch of, you know, conspiracy theories about Biden, about not just Biden, but immigrant crime, which isn't real. It's not a thing. You know, they'll take one tragic, horrible accident that, you know, or one tragic, horrible crime, and they'll make it seem like it's an epidemic, right? Like only these people are the people that are, you know, capable of killing other people. It's insane, and they're making it seem like there's some widespread sort of category of crime that has to do with immigrants, and that's false. It's just not a fact. Anyway, they stand there and they put up their one finger, okay? We have a general who was the national security advisor of the United States of America, who was in league with spirits that would use us in really ugly ways over there in Russia, okay? Michael Flynn. And he's a QAnon guy. He has his whole family stand there and say, where we go one, we go all, and takes an oath to a conspiracy theory universe. I mean, this is really, this is dangerous. This is twisted. This is ugly. It's unforgivable. And, you know, 30% of our country, about 30% of our country is, you know, brainwashed into this, you know, ideology of white Trumpism. They, you know, when Trump says, I'm your retribution, you know what he's talking about, right? And you know why they talk about DEI, and you know why they talk about immigrant crime, and you know why they talk about, you know, a two-tier justice system. In a two-tier justice system that they imagine is exactly a 180 of what it is. We do have a multi-tier justice system. We all have borne witness to it, right? Where Donald Trump gets like so much deference that he can literally threaten a judge's daughter's life by putting her photo on Truth Social twice in the last 2 days. He can literally threaten witnesses. He threatened witnesses' children, witnesses' family, witnesses' brothers, witnesses' sisters. It's very Michael Corleone. Now, I'm sure he lifted it right from the, you know, mob people that, you know, Roy Cohn used to defend and hang out with during the Kifaba hearings and all this crap. I mean, this is old 1950s, 60s, 70s mob stuff, you know. Remember in The Godfather? Where Pantangeli was sitting and testifying to the Kafava. It was supposed to be, you know, the Senate hearings about the mob. And Ciccio just testified, yeah, we had a lot of buffers. You know, they said, well, did Michael Corleone ever order you to kill somebody? And they couldn't make a connection, right? Because Michael Corleone never ordered anybody to be killed. He would tell somebody who would tell somebody who would tell somebody, and then Cheech would go out and pull the trigger, right? And he would say, so, you know, he would say, you know, I need to, you know, put a hit on somebody, right? And he said, well, did he ever tell you to get? He goes, no, somebody else would. So you had buffers in between. Yeah, we had a lot of buffers, Senator, right? And then the next person who was going to testify was Frankie Pantangeli, Frankie Five Angels, right? And Frankie Five Angels was supposed to be that link. He was supposed to be the buffer. who actually had experience with Michael Corleone ordering the death of another person, other people. And the reason why they knew Frankie Pantangeli would testify that way is because Frankie Pantangeli cooperated with the FBI to get a deal. And in order to do that, he had a proffer. You know what a proffer is, right? So that's when you tell the FBI what information you can truthfully provide to them, and in exchange, they give you a plea deal. And the day that Frankie Pantangeli was set to testify to the United States Senate about being in the same room with Michael Corleone, when Michael Corleone would order the hit on another person, he changes his mind. And the committee is stunned by this 180 of Frankie Pantangeli. And all of a sudden, everybody realizes that a person has been brought into the Senate gallery. A person has been brought in to watch this hearing. And when you look at this person, you realize this person is someone you've not seen in the movie. This person is someone that nobody knows who it is, right? And then you come to find out that it's the witness, Frankie Pantangeli's brother from Italy, who Michael Corleone flew in there to intimidate Frankie Pantangeli, to let him know, you testify against me. What happened with Frankie Pantangeli? Who was that man? He said it was his brother. He was from Italy. He spoke no English. He came here to support his brother. Well, then why did Frankie change his testimony? Why did he say the FBI testimony that he gave he wasn't going to give? And he said, well, the FBI, they asked me, would I testify? I said, yeah, sure, but I didn't see anything. And Michael says, it's between the brothers, Kay. That is what the judge in the fraud case, in the Trump business case in New York, had to actually write. He had to write that you can't intimidate the witness's family.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
When abortion is on ballot, it wins. People, even in red states like Ohio. What I think is super interesting about Florida is that we see how much this Republican Party has moved even on abortion. Remember, they started with these 6-week heartbeat bills, right? And now they really have moved on to like embryonic personhood, right? So in states like Alabama, they're going after IVF. So we can really even see the progression of if you give these people a little bit, they are not satisfied. They are not satiated.
Right. They're going for the full Monty. They're going for the entirety of control over a woman's life. The whole thing, the whole 9 yards, every little bit of it. You gave them an inch, they're taking an arm, they're taking a leg. They want embryonic personhood. Are you freaking kidding me with this swill? Well, we're going to go back to 1893, 1863, the mifepristone case, that it's a drug that 20 years before it was in the United States, it was used in Europe safely and effectively. And 20 years later, the FDA approved it here, and it's been used for another 20 years here. Now, all of a sudden, they're gunning for that, too. I'm telling you, these people want control. They want control. They want your life to be chaotic. They don't want you to have any decision-making ability whatsoever. And as far as war goes, as far as the issues of war and peace that a lot of people are very upset about, thinking that, the idea of Netanyahu, being a right-wing lunatic extremist, which almost everyone to a person knows that that is the case, is no better ameliorated by a Donald Trump presidency. Okay. In fact, it's exacerbated by a Donald Trump presidency. And how do we know? Because, I would play it for you, but the audio is so terrible. But it does exist, and you can Google it and you can listen to it for yourself. But it's a representative, a Republican from Michigan. His name is Tim Walberg. And he's in a room full of, it sounds like a fundraiser or some group of, Republicans at a dinner. I can't really tell what they're doing. I could just tell that somebody was recording and he didn't think that he was being recorded. He wasn't on a mic. Okay. It was random. But anyway, he's talking to these Republicans and he's advocating for Netanyahu to treat Gaza like Nagasaki or Hiroshima. He's literally saying, let's nuke them. And, you heard Jared the other day say, hey, listen, this is beachfront property and what a waste of property it is. And, they really, I mean, honestly, if you think that this will be better handled by another right-wing lunatic extremist, you're insane. You truly are. I mean, when a Washington Post columnist was murdered in an embassy in Turkey by the Saudis, who went there with bone saws at the behest of Prince bin Salman, and the United States knew, Jared knew, first of all, why is the president's son-in-law, why is his son-in-law a senior advisor, a person who are an intelligence apparatus, all 16 intelligence agencies, all of them said, do not give this man a clearance. Do not give him a security clearance. He owes massive sums of money on his daddy's building, 666. like that wasn't enough for people. 666 Fifth Avenue. And he will do anything at all to pay that loan off. And sure as anything, he left the service of his father-in-law because his father-in-law was defeated. And what happens? He gets $2 billion from the Saudis. And when the Saudis needed intelligence about, when bin Salman himself needed intelligence about who in bin Salman's family did not want him to ascend to the throne. See, this is what Jared actually gave, I believe, to the Saudi royal family. This particular royal was the names of the family members who did not want to see the prince ascend to the throne to be king, okay? And so what did the prince do once he got the list? He kidnapped all those family members. And just like autocrats do, they sacrifice one of them. And they say, see, we did this. Putin did it with Khodorkovsky. Putin did it with Magnitsky. Okay, you just kill one of them. The other one you exile. Or the other one you, just to let the other oligarchs in the family know that's your future if you don't support me. That's what happens to you. Now Donald Trump is doing it to witnesses in his trial in the most mafia-like way, to a point where a judge literally yesterday, and we were talking about how Donald Trump was threatening the lives of the judge and the judge's daughter and, the Secretary of State of Colorado. People, she was a defendant in the case to have Trump removed from the ballot. She didn't bring that case. She was, anyway, her family's been threatened. There's been, letters sent, and you've heard the disgusting messages that were left for people like Adam Schiff. You've heard disgusting messages that were left for Swalwell, Jamie Raskin's family. Jamie Raskin's fighting cancer. I mean, they don't give and the acolytes out there, they will do anything. And if Donald Trump says punch him in the face, they say, yeah, we can be violent. This man wants us to be violent. And when Trump threatens the family members of a judge, he's signaling to them exactly who the target is. It's like the judge's daughter is a chicken, okay? Like a raw chicken. And the judge is, sitting there. The Trump supporters are like alligators. And they're going to feed the judge's daughter, the chicken, to the alligators and let her... This is why it's straight out of autocratic mafia bosses. This is exactly how people who really have no integrity or character and no qualms about taking life, no passion for. And this is the guy that the pro-life people are elevating. I mean, for me, it's like the most upside down world you could possibly imagine, that you could design, that you could, and of course the progressives are just so pissed off about Netanyahu. Don't forget who Netanyahu is, okay? He is a right-wing extremist Likud party member who had to cobble together the ultra-Orthodox in Israel in order to get to stay in office. And now they hold him captive. The man, when he was asked yesterday about the death of these aid workers, okay, who were from, all around the world. Some of them were from Australia. Some of them were three of the dead, World Kitchen aid workers, who were serving, millions of meals. How they do it is it's a wonder. But that they were killed, the other governments asked for an investigation. The United States did as well. Anthony Blinken did. You know what? He said, Anthony Blinken was, saying, listen, we need an investigation. These are heroes. These are people who go into, war zones, and they're clearly marked, and they're not there to be a combatant, and they're not there to engage. They're there to feed people. They're there to do humanitarian assistance. They're there to do the things that, nobody wants to do because you two are at war with each other, whatever, right? And how do they end up dead? How does that happen? And he was asking that question. You know what Netanyahu's answer was? I can play it for you, but it's in Hebrew. There's what do you call it? A translation. But if you're listening on one of the platforms that doesn't have video, it won't make sense to you. But he said, in a nutshell, that crap happens, right? His explanation for how these aid workers, and the aid workers have been saying, Jose Andres has been saying for a really long time that there's an obstacle in the way, that they're not able to feed people there, and that they were told that they could, and they were told that they would have access, and they were told that they would be safe, and they were told that there would be a route for their delivery of their meals. And he's been saying for a really long time, none of this has happened yet. We haven't gotten any of that, and now 7 of them are dead. So he's pulling out. He can't stay there. He says, he's got to protect his workers. So he doesn't. So when Netanyahu was asked about it, he said, well, that happens. I'm telling you. It's always like that with them. Well, you live, you die. And by them, I mean autocrats.
לצערנו, ביממה האחרונה היה מקרה טרגי של פגיעה לא מכוונת של כוחותינו באנשים חפים מפשע ברצועת עזה. זה קורה במלחמה, אנחנו בודקים את זה עד תום, עומדים בקשר עם הממשלות ונעשה הכל כדי שהדבר הזה לא יישנה שוב.
It happens. It happens during wartime. Unfortunately, it happens. But the Republican Party talking about Gaza as if it's Mediterranean beachfront property to be developed, and then the other idiotic portion of their caucus talking about nuking it? Are you insane? Tiny?
/donate.
Mary had a little man. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The twisted remains of World Central Kitchen armored vehicles destroyed by an Israeli strike. The U.S. charity says 7 of its staff were killed in the attack, and now it's halting its aid operations in Gaza. The victims include a dual U.S.-Canadian citizen, as well as people with British, Australian, Polish, and Palestinian citizenship.
A lot of people very, very happy to see us.
Chef Jose Andres, who founded World Central Kitchen, calling them angels, and adding, the Israeli government needs to stop this indiscriminate killing, stop using food as a weapon. Andres' organization was the first to bring desperately needed food into Gaza by sea. He spoke about his mission to get food to northern Gaza on Today.
We need to do everyday shipments to the north. We can solve the hunger problem in the north. Everybody working together, we can be successful.
God bless you.
The Israeli military calling the killings a tragic incident and says it's launched a thorough review at the highest levels. Its spokesman saying he talked to Chef Andres.
We are committed to examining our operations thoroughly and transparently.
But the charity says its staff were traveling in a 3-vehicle convoy clearly marked with its logo, and that it coordinated their movements with the Israeli military ahead of time. The White House urging Israel to swiftly investigate what happened.
Hey, this is Zomi and Chef Olivier.
One victim, Australian Zomi Frankom, an experienced aid worker. Damien Sobel from Poland was also killed, according to his local mayor. Israel facing questions about the accuracy of its strikes in Gaza. As elsewhere, rising fears of a wider war. This fiery explosion destroying an Iranian diplomatic building in Syria yesterday. Iran says the blast killed 7 officers from the Revolutionary Guard. Now it's blaming Israel and saying that as an ally, the U.S. must answer for the attack.
Now, Israel neither confirming nor denying it was behind that strike in Syria, but its forces are on high alert for potential Iranian retaliation. Last night, the Israeli military says an Iranian-made drone hit one of its naval bases. There were no casualties, but Israel calling it a very serious incident.
Oh, God, this thing is going to, get larger and bigger and badder and worse. And more of the region is going to, see violence. It's just, and this is all because you have one uber extremist right-wing Likud party leader who's been trying to stay out of jail for at least a year now, maybe more, right? I mean, him and his wife were both, facing charges on fraud and bribery, and he tried to dismantle his Supreme Court, which is exactly what Donald Trump would love to be doing right now to all of our courts. And feeding the courts, the judge's daughter to the alligators below. I mean, this is how they are. This is who they are. This is what autocrats do. They really believe that they are above the law and that they should never be, brought to the bar of justice. They should never be made to answer for their bad behavior. And if you do ask them to answer for it, they will dismantle your court system. They will actually take it apart bit by bit. And that's what Netanyahu's doing. There were tens of thousands of people on the street protesting him before all this happened. Now, the reason why this happened is no fault of Israel's. And that's just the hard truth, okay? You had 2,000 terrorists, 2,000 of them, come over walls and borders and just rape their way through a beautiful morning. I mean, just really took hostages, kidnapped people, raped women, killed grandmas in front of their grandchildren, killed grandchildren in front of their mothers. It was a sick, 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 twisted terrorist attack. I mean, the worst. The worst. And now, instead of, wrapping it up and saying, okay, we had to retaliate because, at the beginning, what I say, listen, did you really think that Hamas did not know what was going to happen when they decided to go ahead and do this? Of course they knew. And they've been using the Palestinian people in Gaza as human shields for a really long time. They don't care if they live or die. They don't care if they die of hunger. They don't care about their children. They don't care about any of their relatives. They don't care about their housing. They don't care about anything. What they care about is being Iranian proxies. And, that's what Hamas is. It's a terrorist group. So yesterday, all of a sudden, the headquarters of Iran's embassy in Syria, and I know a lot of people are like, wait, aren't they the same? No, they're not the same. Syria, Iran, neighbors, great neighborhood that they're in. But so Iran has an embassy in Damascus, in the capital of Syria, right? And in that embassy they're dead now, were the generals who are in charge of fighting the proxy wars. Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's an Iranian proxy group. Hamas in Gaza, that's an Iranian proxy group. The Houthis in Yemen, that's an Iranian proxy group. Although they're far enough away where they sort of say, oh, F you, Iran, we're going to do what we want to do. But set that aside. These are the Iranian terrorist groups, okay, that the Iranian mullahs actually fund and want to do the murdering, the killing, getting their hands dirty. And they do it. And they use the people in that region, the very same people that they're there representing, in their weird terrorist government, as shields. And that's why you find them in hospitals. And that's why you find them in schools. And that's why you find them, scattered among the population, And so it's a difficult thing to have to root them out. But, You don't use 2,000-pound dumb bombs and then claim we're trying to be very surgical about this. We're trying to just find them. So there's no decent solution available with these two governments. And yes, Hamas is the government in Gaza, and Netanyahu is the government in Israel. And you know, there's people out on the streets right now. You know, there's tens of thousands of people out on the streets protesting in Israel today, last night, the night before. You know that, right? Now, they are as diverse as you can get in their, asks, let's say, of the things that they want to achieve with these protests. But I will tell you, some of them are out there protesting. Do you know why? This is crazy. But the ultra-Orthodox in Israel, they don't work. They get paid to pray. For the most part, Israel is a secular place, believe it or not. But just like here, we have, QAnon cult members. Just like here, we have, uber, ultra, whatever sect it is, like Waco. That was the Branch Davidians, right? You always have, some group of people who, you either are loyal and you fit into that crowd, to that neighborhood, to that group, or you don't. The ultra-Orthodox in Israel 55% of them don't work, okay? And they're also exempted from military service because they're conscientious objectors. This is not like your ordinary person. This is an ultra-Orthodox sect of, Judaism. And so the court and the Central Bank of Israel, actually, is who said it. The Central Bank of Israel said, our economy cannot take the deployment of all of these people, men and women serve in Israel, and our economy can't handle it. The ultra-Orthodox are going to have to join. They're going to have to go into the military. They're going to have to fight. They're going to have to be conscripted like every other Israeli is. And so a good chunk of the protesters out on the street now are protesting that. A whole chunk of the protesters are asking for Netanyahu to resign. A whole chunk of the protesters are saying, get the hostages back and stop killing things. Go get them. You're supposed to have the best intelligence units. Go get them.
At RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
I want to play for you what Jared Kushner, the former president's son-in-law, said last month, though revealed only in recent days, about the future of Gaza. And I want to draw attention to a particular line in this. Let me play it for you, and I want to get your thoughts.
In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up.
Move the people out. Move the Palestinians out of Gaza there. Is it that the Trump team, if he were to be reelected, would give right-wing Israeli leadership what they want?
Yes.
What they're looking for, including, some of the hardliners want to move Palestinians out of the West Bank as well.
Yes.
If past is prologue, the answer to that question is tragically yes.
Yes.
President Trump basically gave Netanyahu everything he wanted when he was president for that 4-year period. And I think what Kushner just said is repugnant beyond imagining. It is ethnic cleansing at its worst. And to then go on as if he were developing property in beachfront areas of the Carolinas, speculating how valuable beachfront property is in Gaza, while 31,000 people have been killed, is disgusting and beneath contempt. And I can only imagine the impact those words have on the suffering Palestinian people in Gaza right now.
And on people who are Jews in this country. Okay, it hurts us. It literally is creating an anti-Semitic, epidemic in this country when people like him, privileged, skinny white guys, billionaires, who give our intelligence over to the Saudis so that a prince can elevate himself to king by kidnapping his family and holding them hostage in the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh, which is apparently how rich people do it. And then looking the other way when that man elevates himself to a position of power by virtue of having the intelligence who was working against him, and then sends a squad of goons out to kill a Washington Post columnist with a bone saw and cut him into pieces. And Trump and Jared look the other way so that they can take their money, take $2 billion off of the Saudis at the end. I mean, it's a very ugly sort of a elitist world where, they toil and dwell. It doesn't matter who gets killed. And I'm telling you, this is what autocrats say. This is what they say each and every time. These are hard conversations to have about, what's going on in the Middle East. It always is, because it's a difficult place. But when you talk about it, okay, and you start to talk, and people don't understand that the elitists in this world are sitting there saying, let them, listen, it happens. They die, people die. Aid workers die. Listen, it happens. First you're, born and then you die. That's life. That's what it is. That's what Syria's autocrat says. That's what Netanyahu just said. That's what, Jared is saying. The idea that Palestinians, listen, Palestinians did not attack Israel. Hamas did. And you know how you know that? Only terrorists actually attack innocent people sleeping in their beds or dancing at a concert. So, only a terrorist organization would actually contemplate and execute such a massacre, such a bloodbath. The people of Palestine, on the other hand, are dentists and doctors. They just don't have people with money who can pay them what we pay dentists and doctors in our country. So you have, young women who are just about to graduate dental school, and he's sitting there denigrating well, if they would just put the money into education. Are you freaking kidding me? And he knows better. See, he knows better. And that's what the whole disgusting nature of what he's doing, this is how, it just twists my gut, because the people who are going to be the targets of that kind of talk, the anti-Semitic, retribution is going to be a person, just an ordinary person. It's not going to be Jared, who lives in a, golden tower. It's not going to be Trump. It's not going to be his family. It's not going to be Ivanka or her children, who she's raising Jewish, okay? No, it's going to be ordinary, everyday people, through no fault of their own, are going to pay for that kind of crap, for that kind of swill, for that kind of what did they used to call that? Your worldview. And they used to call it a worldview when it was becoming very Christian in this country. What's your worldview? That was a polite way of saying, do you believe in Jesus? Right? Well, the worldview of Jared is not the worldview of people who believe in Moses. Okay, trust me, it's not. It isn't. And that's why people are out in the street protesting this bizarre man who yesterday attacked Iran in Syria. Now, if you think that there's going to be no retribution for that, so, it's just so sick what happened yesterday. So Netanyahu ordered, and of course Israel never divulges. They never admit to what they do. They never say, oh yeah, that was us. Those were our planes, and, we fired on the embassy. And, that was an example of a smart bomb, a guided missile, because it was very surgical what happened yesterday at the embassy there in Syria. And they killed 7 Iranian high-ranking officers who are in charge of running the proxy wars. Now, you might recall that Trump did such a thing with Soleimani. Soleimani was running the proxy wars, and they said to you, oh, he has so much blood on his hands, it's good. We killed him, and that's so great. That's just so good. And if you think that the right wing in this country isn't going to, back Netanyahu when he says, yeah, let's attack Iran, you're wrong. You're wrong. They will. They will. They will back him, and he will attack Iran. And he already, surgically attacked them in their embassy in a different country, in Syria, but he will. And if we, God forbid, get a right-wing government here, all bets are off, man. All bets are. And he's already talking about the camps he wants to send us, Trump. But, everybody thinks, the camps aren't for me. I'm white. The camps are for those brown people. The camps are for, people coming over the border. The camps are for the people, who are building the bridge. The camps are going to, you understand the men on that bridge who were so unbelievably caught off guard by a random act of, a vessel loaded with containers slamming into a strut, slamming into a support beam, right? And then the bridge falls apart like an erector set, it's just so unbelievable. The people that were working on the bridge are the exact people that Donald Trump wants to put in camps. They were from Guatemala. They were from Honduras. They were from Mexico. They were people who were working at 1:30 in the morning filling potholes. So you could have a nice ride to work without potholes. But no, the camps will be for us too. You'll see.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right. 33 after. Before I forget, Wisconsin, Rhode Island, New York, one other place I'm forgetting now. See, and I didn't want to forget. You have primaries today, okay? You do. And what's interesting about Wisconsin is there is a line on your ballot that's going to say uninstructed. And it's like, what? What does uninstructed mean? People who are protesting what Israel is doing in Gaza are using that line on the ballot in Wisconsin to vote, so that it's sort of the uncommitted protest that we saw in Michigan that did so well. It got 100,000 votes. The Michigan protest did. And I thought that was insanely good because, look, Biden is the Democratic nominee and, Donald Trump is the Republican Party's nominee this year. Yes, a man who is indicted in 4 different jurisdictions with 91 felonies is on the ballot to be president of the United States. And today there's a primary where it really doesn't matter because he's already there. But you do have some other things on the ballot, especially in Wisconsin. You have Amendment 1 and 2 in Wisconsin, which has to do with whether or not you're going to have free and fair elections. Anybody who has looked at the Democracy Docket, Mark Elias, people who work in the arena of ballot protection and voting rights and access to the ballot, they all want you to vote no on Amendments 1 and 2 on the Wisconsin ballot. And if you are protesting what you think is going on in Gaza and you want to, be heard, then that uninstructed line is a line that you could use to make that protest vote. Now, in New York, you can leave it blank, I guess. I mean, there's no choice there, there's no uninstructed, there's no non-committed, there's nothing. But I guess, there's a large network of progressive organizations that are asking you to either leave it blank if there's no other place to put your protest. Connecticut, that's the other place. Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, Wisconsin. If there's no other place, just leave it blank. Just show up, vote the rest of the ballot, but leave the primary blank. And it works for both parties. It does. It sends a message to both of them. So, Carrie in Georgia.
Hey. Yes, I was called. Hey, I was listening to you, and I kind of disagree a little bit that the people in Gaza done that for no good reason. They were being, they called it an open-air prison, and they were being really treated rough.
But the people in Gaza didn't do it. Hamas, a terrorist organization, did. And
Yeah, I
only
understand that,
okay,
but-
and only a terrorist organization uses violence, political violence, to get a political result. The people,
Well, that makes
the
Israel a
Palestinians.
terrorist too. Then what
Well,
they're doing is
no.
terrorist as well. Then
Well, no, because Israel was attacked, and you get to respond. So one
Well,
was
they've already-
one was a terrorist organization that actually paraglided over the wall that separates the two, and flew in there and started murdering babies in front of parents, in front of grandmothers, murdering grandmothers in front of grandfathers, murdering grandmothers in front of children. I'm sorry, but
and
that's
that was terribly wrong.
that it's
But
not
two wrongs
terribly
don't-
wrong. It's a terrorist organization that does that. Raping people as a tool of war makes you a war criminal. Okay.
What about starving people?
Well, show me that he is starving people. I mean, every day I see that famine is imminent. Famine is imminent. Certain groups of people aren't getting. You know what I mean? But I don't see what you see.
Okay, with the bombs that they were dropping, I'm familiar with them. I'm a Vietnam veteran. And we called them daisy cutters in Vietnam, 2,000-pound bombs that we dropped in Vietnam to create a landing zone for the helicopters.
Mm-hmm.
They'll clear an acre of jungle, one bomb, and they drop them
But
on
when
civilian
when you drop them on a jungle community, okay, did you tell them to get out of the way because you were going to drop them?
Of course not.
Well, Israel does. So it's a very it's a tough conundrum because they do. They told people in northern Gaza to go south because they were going to, drop these bombs. And they were going to take out all these apartment blocks where they had intelligence that told them that the leaders of Hamas were living. And they were going to do this and that they were hiding in the hospital. And that they had, and sure as crap, I mean, they killed so many Hamas leaders that it's hard to argue that that's the target. And they did tell people to leave. Now, I get that, you don't fight that way. I don't fight that way. But Israel does because it's not against the Palestinians that they're fighting. It's against a terrorist organization.
Well, they was warned that was happening, and they did nothing about it, as I understand. So
they were warned.
That's about all I got to say,
I hear you.
But we disagree. I agree that we can disagree on that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, it's really one of the hardest situations in the history of situations, and that's why for 20 some odd years, never talked about it. I never talked about it because people are dug in and people had their own view of what the future might look like. But we're in the future now, and it looks like this. It looks like this. And the reason it looks like this is because a terrorist organization attacked innocent people living in southern Israel on kibbutz, okay? And that is a very agrarian lifestyle. That is a farmer lifestyle. They grow, olive trees. And they, bird watch, and they're very peaceful people. And it's a very loving community. It's a loving way to raise children. It really is. It's a beautiful thing, the whole communal living of a kibbutz. And they did absolutely nothing to anybody at all. I mean, some of the women that were taken captive were going to the border every day. And when people needed to go to a hospital in Gaza and couldn't find a specialist for, let's say they were, God forbid, having kidney failure, and they needed to go to, a hospital in Israel for a certain treatment that wasn't a bit. These women in these kibbutz would go to the border, escort these women, take them, not just women, men too, and bring them to get medical care. And then, so nobody deserved this. The ordinary people in Gaza didn't deserve it. The ordinary people in southern Israel didn't deserve it. This is the result of crazy people who made crazy policy and terrible, terrible assumptions about the other. I mean, hideous thing. Like Jared, you sit there and you listen to that elitist little snot-nosed son of a bitch talk about people in Palestine being uneducated and not appreciating the Mediterranean Sea as if it was just a shanty town there. I mean, that's just That's what they want you to think, but it's just not true. People are people wherever you go, and terrorist groups are terrorist groups wherever you go, and they do violence for a political result.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Okay, so last night I was drifting off to sleep because I had to get up really, really early this morning because what you don't know is I have a mouth full of stitches yet again. I had a lot of dental work this morning. A lot. And still, I'm here serving you. But anyway, so I wanted to go to bed kind of early. So I was like, not really going to stay up to watch Stephanie Rule and Lawrence O'Donnell. But you know what? He had Colin Allred on. And Colin Allred is our best hope to defeat that snot-nosed, disgusting simp, Ted Cruz, okay, in Texas. And in fact, what was it? Last week I said it was a 1-point race. Well, as of yesterday, it was tied. It was 41-41. Colin Allred, a Democrat in Texas, tied with Ted Cruz. And it was pretty amazing. So, I wanted to see him last night, so I stayed up and watched him. And one of the things that made me sit up straight in the bed there was when he told us how happy he was that Florida got the option of voting for a constitutional amendment to preserve our right to choose in November, but that between now and November, we were going to get a glimpse into what it was like in Texas. Because in Texas, there is no abortion. There just isn't. And we know that because women with children who wanted a third child got really, heinous diagnoses about, the viability of the baby they were carrying. And they were told go home or go sit in a parking lot, wait to get septic. And they had to flee Texas in order to get medical care to try again, to preserve their uterus, to be able to try again. And he gave a number. He was talking about, well, I feel bad because now Florida's going to see what it's like in Texas with the 6-week abortion ban going into effect here in Florida on May 1st. You're going to, get a glimpse. And he said a number of women in Texas, now I realize it's a big state, but oh my God, that are carrying their rapist's baby. Now, you might think, I explained it to Brett, and when I told it to Brett, I left out the number 2. I'm doing it on purpose. And he thought it might be like, tens of women or maybe 100.
At the worst, I was thinking she's talking about a few hundred at worst. Like I'm trying to overdo it, thinking, okay, it wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't a big number. So I'm thinking a couple hundred max.
Well, this is why we had to go and grab the clip, because if I told you, you wouldn't believe me anyway. And so I needed to get the clip of Colin Allred on Lawrence O'Donnell's show last night, explaining how happy he is for Florida, but how sad he is for Florida in the interim. And this is what it looks like to be in Texas right now.
I really feel for what's happening in Florida as much as I'm excited about them having this on the ballot. What they're going to experience is what we've been experiencing in Texas, which is what a near total ban on abortion looks like. And what it looks like is 26,000 women in Texas who've given birth to their rapist child. What it looks like is a mother of 2 like Kate Cox or Dr. Austin Denard, who was my guest at the State of the Union, who wanted to have a much wanted third pregnancy, who got the news that we all hope we don't get, that the pregnancy wasn't viable. And in Kate Cox's case, she had to go to the emergency room 4 times. Her doctor said she needed a medically necessary abortion, and her state said no. In fact, they didn't just say no. They said, if you do this, we're going to prosecute you, your doctor, your hospital. We have counties saying you can't drive through the county if you're going to use the roads to access an abortion.
Love it.
I mean, how are they going to enforce that, Lawrence? What are we going to do? We start pulling women in Texas over and asking them, what's the nature of your travel, ma'am?
Yep.
I mean, that's not freedom.
You remember that commercial we used to play all the time with the girl in the car with her mother, and the police officer pulls her over and he says, what's your name? And she says, Grace. And he looks at her and says, are you pregnant, Grace? It was fantastical when we played it, but it was possible because the Supreme Court was ruling against women. And now it's real. It's actually real in Texas.
I got to dig it up. It's more relevant than ever now,
It
unfortunately.
is, right? So 26,000 Texas women are carrying their rapist's baby. 26,000. Now, unless and until America gets its crap together, I suggest you don't criticize what's going on anywhere else. Okay? Really, I don't. But this is brutal. This is absolutely abusive. It's ugly. It's unforgivable in the 21st century when, modern medicine can literally preserve a woman's ability to have the next safe pregnancy if she can get medical care to help her. And I know it's not pleasant, but we're talking about evacuating the uterus, cleaning it, getting a D and C so that you could try again. That now can't do it, can't have it. The uber, mullahs, the Christian, white nationalists have chosen for you. This is not America. This is really some other weird ass place. And it doesn't look familiar and it doesn't feel familiar, and it should never, because that is not our country. That is not America. Tony in Louisiana.
Yeah, Randy, how are you?
Hey.
You do a great show. Listen, I just wanted to get your opinion on this, Randy. I'm a Native American, retired Vietnam veteran, and I live in a totally red state of
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to put a vote for Biden sign on my lawn.
And I was thinking about that. I'm not allowed to have a Biden sign on my lawn because I live in a gated community that's ruled over by a homeowners association. And they have, to keep the peace, you're not even allowed to have political signs. I tried when Obama was running in 2008, I tried to put an Obama sign in the upstairs bedroom that faced the street. And I tell you, you had rabid people back then who said, literally called up the homeowners association and sent letters to me telling me, get it out of your window, take it out of your. I mean, it's bizarre. I had no idea until I actually decided, to put a sign. Anyway, I understand what you're saying, but here's I think the solution. Everybody puts a Biden sign out. Everybody. What? Yes, because only 30% of this country is going to vote for Donald Trump. I know that. They know that. You know that. It's true. The more Biden signs there are, the better Biden's chances are, and the better we all are that everybody has decided that they were going to put a Biden sign on their lawn. Everybody. Because threatening political violence is terrorism. And I think that's what we're discussing for the lion's share of the show today. Terrorism against women, terrorism against innocent people in southern Israel, terrorism against, people that aren't terrorists in Gaza, normal people that are just trying to escape violence, going wherever they're told to go. Wherever they're told to take refuge. They've been doing it. They've been leaving. They've been going. This is a cruel freaking world. And the idea that you're going to, pass judgment on one country or one leader, you're going to have to flesh out what that's about for you. Because when you look at, what's going on in this world and you look at the number of people that are under hostile, fire, look at Syria. Look what happened at Aleppo. Nobody even called about Aleppo. I used to try and bring it up all the time about how they were just taking out hospitals and schools and apartment blocks, and it was the Russians doing it. And they fight like Russians. They fight like that. They go after civilians, all the time, the Russians do. They're doing it in Ukraine. Nobody calls me about Ukraine. You had people in Ukraine that nothing to eat, nothing at all. It was winter time, okay? The entire electric grid was taken offline. You had a nuclear reactor in Zaporizhia that was under fire. That was under fire for days and days and days and days. And everybody was waiting for this nuclear accident. Nobody called. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a damn. I'll tell you why everybody's so hyper about what's going on in the Middle East. It's because of trolls. I know that sounds ridiculous. It's true, though. It's all about manipulation on the internet. It is about, because at the very beginning of all this, before anybody even knew who was right, who was wrong, what was going on, you had memes of paragliders with Palestinian flags being the righteous ones in the meme, and the Israelis being, evil. And they were the ones that were attacked. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. But I will tell you, unless you hold equal disrespect and disregard for both sides that are doing this kind of violence, I mean, let's not pretend that, Hezbollah and Hamas aren't launching rockets into Israel now. They launched like 20,000 of them. It's just nobody talks about that. And as far as, if you're concerned about hunger, there are 258 million people in this world in 58 separate countries that have no food. That's disgusting.